Welcome back to Kingdom Culture Gardens. And no, your eyes are not deceiving you. We're in a garage. It's actually 30 degrees outside right now and snowing. And the snow is sticking. It's definitely a good day to be inside. So I don't have a greenhouse. As if you've been following our channel, you know that my mom is the one that has the greenhouse out on her farm. I live right in the middle of town. So for me, I have to grow my seeds inside. Now, you don't have to grow them in your garage. Our garage is actually climate controlled. So, because it's in the lower level of our house, we live in a bi-level house. And so it maintains really good temperatures, anywhere between 50 and 60 degrees in the spring. And then as the temperatures warm up, it gets slightly warmer in here. But for the most part, my plants, as you can see here, are doing phenomenal. Now, these were the ones that were planted in our last video during our seed planting video. So these are all flowers. These were actually planted a week before. So these guys have about 2 weeks growth time. Now, we did the exact same thing. If you want to check out our seed planting video, if you're curious how we did it, I'll go ahead and link that video down below. Do check it out. But for the most part, what you need to do after you get them planted is provide good light, which you can see I have a couple of varieties here, and provide warmth. And now let's talk light. I am not going to go into all the details about the lights. You can get really, really technical and follow what requirements chlorophyll A needs, chlorophyll B. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to confuse you guys. The best thing is you want to provide the best artificial light that you can in order for your plants to perform photosynthesis. Okay, that's the whole point and purpose. That's how the plants feed themselves. So you want to provide them with as much artificial nutrients as possible until you get them outside and you get them in the ground. So I have a couple of different varieties here. This one is a 100 watt daylight LED bulb. So while it's not like these, you can see kind of have the red and the blue and the warm yellow lights. I'm not for sure if that's gonna pick up on screen or not, but this one falls right in the middle range of it. It's about a 5,000 Kelvin, so it's kind of the equivalent to the kind of daylight that you're gonna get around midday. These guys right here, these are all LED grow lights. These have the blue light, the red light, and the warm yellow light, which all provide kind of the full spectrum of the sun artificially. So you generally want to look for a light source that is between 2,700 Kelvin and about 6,000 Kelvin. That kind of puts you at a nice, good, healthy range. So now that we've got our lights covered, which these guys, what's great with LED too, I'll just go ahead and mention, it's not hot. There's no heat to them. So these guys have been on all day long and there's no heat generated. So you don't have to worry about burning your plants or anything like that, or this generating a little too much heat. So that's another good thing about LEDs. Now, another thing about growing your plants indoors is they're in a fully controlled environment, okay? They get daylight from the time you turn them on until the time you turn them off, which another thing with growing inside is you do want 12 to 14 hours daylight, sometimes a little more depending upon the variety of plant that you have planted, but you do need a little more light because again, it's all artificial. But other than that, they're controlled. Okay, they're not getting rained on, they're not out in the elements, so there's no wind or anything like that that they have to worry about. So one thing that you want to prepare your seedlings for is to be put in the ground, because that is eventually where we're going with these guys, right? So what you want to do is you want to slowly harden them. Now, what I've been doing with all of these guys here is I have been taking them outside for a little bit. I started earlier in the week where I just took them out for a few hours in the afternoon, set them out. Now, some people will say you need to put them in the shade and then bring them in and then put them in the shade again a little longer the next day. If you want to do that, that's fine. I didn't do that. I figured, you know what? God made these guys adaptable, and so I'm just gonna harden them right off. So I took them outside, left them in the sunlight for a few hours, brought them back inside. I noticed a huge uptake in my growth too whenever I did that. So obviously the best light is sunlight for your plants. But you continue to do that each day, then they're kind of getting exposed to the natural sunlight. They're also getting exposed to environmental factors, which will help harden the plants. It'll help give them a better stalk, help them have healthier leaves, and just produce better. They're also going to get, again, that natural sunlight that's just, there's no replacement for natural sunlight. So that is the best. To finish off my little setup here, so I have a table, as you can see. I've got my trays. I've got my light source. I've also got ways to water. So I've got a little water pitcher here, which I do water from below. I do have a little water spritzer here. So if they look like maybe one of the trays doesn't look like it's getting as much water as one of the cells, pardon me, doesn't look like it's getting as much water as some of the other ones. I'll go ahead and water that gently from above. So another thing that I did, as you notice, I don't have anything labeled. So you're probably like, okay, well, most plants, whenever they're first coming up, look the same. So how do you know? Well, I kind of made myself this little nifty chart. I don't know if you can see that or not. So I have labeled my trays, and then I've labeled each cell of the tray as to what it is. So these guys right here, this is tray A, and these guys are my beefsteak tomatoes, which are really coming in nicely. And then I've got some basil, some oregano, dill. I've got my brandywine tomatoes over here, and then my broccoli all the way at the end. And so just finding a unique way to label for you. You can use popsicle sticks, you can use stickers, you can use even these little tags, so you know what is where. Now, as it begins to show its true leaves and things like that, you'll be able to pick the plant. Like, obviously, these guys are peas, right? Not for sure if you can see them or not, but you can see my peas are actually doing gangbusters right now. They are awesome. So they are going to be ready to be on in the ground here really soon. So one other thing that I do is I also will run a fan in here and kind of keep that on low just to mimic a little bit of environmental changes, so some wind and things like that. And I think that's another reason that my plants didn't really have a hard time whenever I put them out in the sun for the first time, that they really did very well. And that's because I had kind of introduced artificial environmental factors, you know, with the fan running and things like that. Now, I don't leave the fan on all the time, but when it is a little warmer outside and it's a little warmer in here, I will kind of leave that fan blowing and things like that. So then that way they can kind of harden up. So guys, you can see it's really that easy to grow plants indoors. As long as you have a really good light source, you're good to go. So if you like the video, go ahead and hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you like our content, and hit the bell. That way you're notified of all future videos that we pump out. We're gonna have some great container gardening videos coming up, some unique ways to use the 5-gallon bucket, as well as some transplanting videos, because like I mentioned before, my peas need to get in the ground, or at least in a larger pot. Thanks again for watching the video, and remember to sow those seeds of kindness.